The All Blacks haven't lost a single test at their Eden Park fortress since 1994. The Springboks were actually the team to start that sequence back in that year at that venue. Now the world champions are walking into the Lions' Den with a team captained by a man few might have expected. I'll give you a prediction at the end of this episode, but before we do that, let's take a look at the keys to victory for both teams, beginning by a look at the starting 15s and indeed the matchday 23s with the Springboks first up. Up front, it's going to be Oxenchair, Malcolm Marx and Thomas du Toit. Ebenetsebet and Ruan Norkier are in the second row, and then we have Marco van Staden, Pieter Steph du Toit and Sia Kolisi at 8th man. Sia is not the captain for this one, by the way. I'll explain in a moment. In the backline, Grant Williams and Handré Pollard are the halfback pairing. Damien de Allende and Jesse Creel are in the centres. Jesse is the captain this week. Kanan Moody is on the left wing, Cheslin Colby on the right, and Willie Leroux at fullback. Our bomb squad is a 5-3 split this week. Jan-Hendrik Wessels, Boan Venter and Wilco Low make up the fresh front row. The other pair of forwards are Loot de Jager and Kwagga Smith. And the three backs will be Kobus Reinach, Sasha Feinberg-Ngomezulu and Ethan Hooker. So I mentioned Sia is not our captain this week, and Jesse Creel will instead skip at the side. Here's Dr. Rassie Rasmus explaining why. Sia was touch and go for the match earlier in the week after picking up a niggle a few weeks ago, and we didn't want to risk him unnecessarily. But with Jean-Luc Duprier having picked up a niggle at training this week, Sia was the obvious choice to slot in at number 8. At that stage, Jesse had already been told he would be the captain, and it was only fair for us to keep things that way. He's a great leader and one of the core players in our team. His communication with the referee and his teammates is good, and he leads by example in the way he plays, so he deserves this opportunity. Okay, let's look at the Kiwis now, starting with their pack. Strong front row there with Ethan de Groot, Cody Taylor and Fletcher Newell. Captain Scott Barrett is at 4 with Tupou Vai moving from flank to lock. So they've got options too when it comes to versatility. Simon Parker moves from 8 to blindside. It's only his second test, by the way, so he is one man we could potentially target. Ardie Savia takes his place at open side. It's also his 100th test for his country. What a player he has been for them. One of the best in the world for me. And then one of the best young players in the world, many would say the best, Wallace Sititi, will pack down at 8 for them. Okay, let's take a look at their backs now. Finlay Christie is their scrum half. Bowden Barrett is the fly half. Brother Geordie is at inside centre with Billy Proctor on his outside. Rico Ioane is on the left wing. Emoni Narawa comes in on the right with Will Jordan at fullback. Now their replacements. Samisoni Taukei'au, Tamati Williams and Tyrell Lomax will be their fresh front row. Fabian Holland and Duplessis Kirifi complete the 5 forwards they have on their bench. They're also going 5-3 as they usually do. The 3 backs are debutant Kyle Preston, Quinn Tupia and Damien McKenzie. Okay, let's compare them now like for like, starting with the packs. I think the 2 front rows are fairly well matched. Perhaps Ox has the edge over Fletcher at scrum time, and they might fancy de Groot scrumming against Thomas the Tank. I would give us the edge in the second row. Eben is an all-time great, and while Barrett and Vai are top players, I don't think Norkier is out of his depth here. The back row is interesting, especially with Sia at 8. Now guys, something I can tell you is that Rassie doesn't really see much of a difference between 6, 7 and 8. I know this from having sat in a press conference with him when he was the Stormers coach back in 2009. I was a young reporter at the time, and he gave us a private lesson in how he sees the roles of the 2 flanks and 8th man as largely interchangeable. That doesn't mean that in our team, Jasper Visser doesn't play a different role necessarily to Sia and Pieter Steph or Marco, and then Sia might be asked to do what someone like Jasper does, and I don't think that you can expect that. I think Sia is a strong ball carrier in any event, but he's not the wrecking ball that Jasper Visser is. But I'm just trying to give you an idea that fitting into the system and the way Rassie sees loose forward play, I don't think that this is necessarily something that we need to be concerned about.
Williams again, Marks. And then Kolisi!
Plus, Sia was doing quite well at 8 against the Wallabies before he came off, so I'm not worried there. What I am worried about is potentially Sia pulling out on the morning of the match or just before kickoff with this niggle that he's been struggling with, and then that might change a few things. So we'll have to wait and see what happens as far as that is concerned. You might say we've got Pieter-Steph and they've got Adi Savia, so perhaps that cancels each other out. Sititi is obviously one of the most exciting players in world rugby right now, but Simon Parker is playing only his second test. I think the scrums look to me like they will be even. I'm worried about our lineouts. Our throw-in accuracy is a concern. Malcolm simply has to be on point here. And then the breakdown. Guys, we've been poor here for a while now. Now, I'll say it again. We don't have to win the breakdown contest overall, but we do need to be competitive. We cannot be taken to school in this area, because if we are, that will ensure that the All Blacks get quick ball, and we know how devastating they can be on attack. I also hope to see us maul more. It's a weapon of ours. We should use it.
Springboks packing in around him, and Banambi with the breakaway.
Okay, what about the backs? Well, Grant and Hundre is our strongest combo in my view, no doubt about it. They've got Christie and Barrett. Now, Barrett is obviously one of the greats, an all-time great at that. But Christie is still a relative newcomer at international rugby, and he's probably their third choice guy behind Cortez Ratimer and Cam Roygod. So that could be an area for us to exploit. I can already see Urban and Pieter-Steph harassing Finlay Christie. And their replacement scrum half, Kyle Preston, is on debut. So I'm singling out 9 as a real area for us to target. And if we can disrupt their 9, that disrupts what their 10, the great Bowden Barrett, might like to do. So that's something where I think we can expect some action from our point of view. Damien and Jesse is as good as it gets for us. That's our 12 and 13. They've got Geordie Barrett at 12, who's another world-class operator. But he's paired with the inexperienced Billy Proctor, who is playing just his 7th test. And then at the back, it's very interesting. Rico Ioane, Imoni Narawa, who is just playing his 4th test, and Will Jordan. Devastating on attack, suspect under the high ball as a back 3. They were certainly found out against Argentina a fortnight ago in Buenos Aires, and I think that's why Narawa has come in for Sevu Reece. He does give them more height in that area. Now we've got Moody, Colby and LaRue. Moody getting a chance at redemption after his horror show against the Wallabies. And let me say, we all know Kanan is a great player. We have eyes. And I don't believe that one bad test suddenly makes him a bad player. Here's his chance to show us that Australia was just a once-off. And it's also an opportunity for Willie to show us that he still has what it takes. In terms of the replacements, well, they've got a formidable front row to come off the bench. Williams, Taukehau and Lomax is, I'm afraid to say, superior to Venter, Wessels and Lowe. But this is where our injury problems might come into play. I do think their weakness lies in their other 2 replacements, Holland and Kirifi. Between them, they have just 9 caps. Compare that to what we have in Luet and Kwacha, and perhaps it's even Stevens again. And I've already singled out Preston as an area for us to target. So Kobus Reinach, he must have the edge there. And then I'd probably compare Sasha Feinberg and Ngomezulu favorably to Damian McKenzie. Some will obviously go with D-Mac. I'm going to go with Sasha. McKenzie obviously has the edge in terms of experience, and no doubt he's a great player. But I think that Sasha has the X factor. And supposing it's an even game and we need someone to make something happen, on the front foot, Feinberg and Ngomezulu could be that man for us. And I would not bet against him. And then you have to give Tupia the advantage over Hooker, I'm afraid, just purely on the strength of having more experience at this level. Us South Africans have seen Hooker play for the Sharks, and we know what he can do there, but we don't yet know what he can actually do at international level. But it'll be interesting because no doubt he will get onto that field, so let's see what happens. Guys, I am confident we're not going to see the Boks throw the ball around here like they did in Johannesburg. I'm expecting to see us go back to our DNA. I'm surprised we didn't go with a 6-2 bench split, but Rassie obviously knows what he's doing. I am concerned about Sia's overall fitness, which is another reason 6-2 might have been the better way to go. And then I don't know about Moody at 11. Yes, I know I've just said he's a great player who probably just had one bad day at the office. And if I look at the squad, given Pollard at 10, which is our best choice, frankly, and Villy at 15, then I guess Moody at 11 could be quite clever. He does actually defend well, despite what you saw at Ellis Park, where I think that a lot of the time we were being caught out for two reasons. One, we were attacking so ferociously and with such reckless abandon that it immediately put our defenders under pressure when they needed to do something, because the transition from attack to defense was just too quick, and probably in that case it was too hot for us to handle. And what it meant, number two, is that the Australians were countering, and listen, they're a strong side on the counter-attack, as are the Kiwis, but I think that combination of attacking with reckless abandon and then struggling to transition quickly into defense, and you think of positional problems in this instance, coupled with the dangerous way that the Australians were counter-attacking. Now we're under pressure. Now you throw in a bit of scoreboard pressure because suddenly we're behind, and a lot of those errors were coming with us chasing the game. That can explain a lot of things, not just for Kane and Moody, but I think of some of the other players who didn't have their best outings in the green and gold jersey that night. So again, I'm willing to write it off as a bad day at the office. On Moody, he is a strong carrier and he does possess great pace, which is what you want from a winger. And then he's strong in the air as well. And we know the All Blacks are going to kick in behind us. And that's actually an area where Moody's pace and anticipation could really come in handy. I won't lie, overall, I'm not sure about this matchday squad of ours. I might have done things differently if I was Dr. Rassie Erasmus. But then Doc has overseen 2 Rugby World Cup victories, 2 Rugby Championships, a British and Irish Lions series victory, and has also secured the Freedom Cup, Mandela Plate, and Qatar Airways Cup. And I just sit here while Doc is doing those things. So I'm going to say this, in Rassie we trust. I've also had a look at the weather for Auckland on Saturday. Looks like it's going to rain in the morning, but will clear up later in the day. I foresee us dealing with a wet field, but no rain during the match. That is obviously not conducive to running rugby, so that probably suits us more than them. What makes this contest even more fascinating is that, as far as I can tell, most Springbok fans are nervous about this one. We feel as if our team is not firing on all cylinders. We believe there are too many obvious weaknesses in our team, and several injuries to key players, well, that hasn't helped either. What is equally fascinating is that I sense something similar from the Kiwis. They appear to feel that their side is not fulfilling its potential right now either. They too see glaring vulnerabilities, i.e. their back three's weaknesses under the high ball. And as it turns out, several of their players are also on the treatment table right now. This is the greatest rivalry in rugby. It's the clash of the titans. The last 3 matches between these two sides have been decided by 6 points or less. 9 of the last 14 matches between the sides have had a winning margin of 6 points or less. The last 3 fixtures between the sides in New Zealand have resulted in every outcome possible. An All Blacks win, a draw, and a Springboks win. The Boks have won their last 4 matches against the All Blacks. Wouldn't 5 in a row be beautiful? But the Kiwis have not lost at Eden Park since 1994. An unbelievable run stretching 31 years and 50 test matches. And wouldn't you just know it, guys, we were the ones that started this sequence. Yep, in 94 we drew 18-18 over there, and that was match 1 in this 50-game streak. So since we started it, we might as well also finish it. And so I'm backing us to overcome the odds, show the world why we are the Webb Ellis Cup holders, and win the day. South Africa 24, New Zealand 22 is my prediction. But what do you think? Do you also hold this cautious optimism that despite everything we've seen so far from our boys in 2025, this is the moment they will rise to the occasion? Or do you think there have been too many cracks this year in our armoury and we're about to be exposed at a ground where it appears to have become impossible to defeat the All Blacks? Let me know in the comment section down below, and while you're down there, why not help me out with a super thanks? That's the heart button with the $ inside of it. You'll be able to make a highlighted comment. I'll hit the love button on your comment, and I promise to reply too. You'll also have the opportunity to make a small donation to my channel. It's whatever you want it to be. It can be 10 Rand or 10,000 Rand. The reason I'm asking for your help is because I would love to do this full time. I would also love to go to Australia in 2027 and cover the Rugby World Cup for you from down under with daily coverage. But I'll need your help to make it happen. Whatever you are willing to contribute, I'll be very, very grateful. And if you used to work at Eskom and you got a lacquer payout, then I'm counting on you to do the right thing. If you're not yet ready to support me in that manner, you can also just spear tackle the like button, and you can also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. And on the topic of the Springboks versus New Zealand, I put together a great video looking at the history of the rivalry. You can check that out on your screen over here. And then I've got one for any Kiwis watching, an exclusive interview with 1987 Rugby World Cup winning captain David Kirk. That's on your screen over here. And even if you're not an All Black supporter, I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy it anyway. Click on one of them, enjoy it, and I'll see you next time.